What are some really creepy facts you know? There is a black hole called Phoenix A, and it is estimated to be 100 billion times the mass of our Sun, comparable to the mass of an entire galaxy. Its event horizon is 590 billion kilometers wide, or more than 100 times the distance from the Sun to Pluto, or about 1/16th of a light-year wide. To get a visualization of how big that is on a human scale, let's shrink our solar system by 1 trillion times. The Sun would be 1 millimeter wide, and Pluto would be a little more than 5 meters away, and that black hole would be 590 meters wide. For reference, Alpha Centauri would be about 40 kilometers away at that scale. The crew aboard the Space Shuttle Columbia was still alive for several minutes during the fatal and futile re-entry attempt. The first signs of trouble were observed at 8:53 a.m. More and more started to go wrong, but Mission Control was able to maintain communication through 8:59 a.m. Sometime after that, the shuttle entered a flat spin while traveling approximately Mach 15, which is enough to cause disorientation and very painful injury, but most likely not unconsciousness or death. Review of recovered data recording shows that Commander Husband and pilot McCool were still attempting to restore systems and recover control past 9 a.m. The first lethal event was depressurization, which occurred between 9 a.m. and 9:01 a.m. All that means that the crew was very much alive and very much fighting to maintain or regain control for more than 7 minutes, despite knowing that realistically their chances of success were pretty much zero. Edit, meant Columbia. Oopsie poopsie. The first known human cannibal was a Neanderthal whose victims' 100,000-year-old bones were discovered in Moulagursi, a cave in France. There have been sites where the act has occurred involving the cannibalism of children, leading some to speculate the act was not just done for food, but that it was done as a warning to rivals. Some anthropologists suggest that cannibalism was common in human societies as early as the Paleolithic. To this day, only a few countries have laws which explicitly criminalize the practice of cannibalism, and the act can still be found in isolated regions of 5 different countries. There are several forms a body can decompose after you breath for the last time. The most common is putrefaction, rotting. It starts when bacteria inside you start eating you up when they stop receiving food. Mummification is most famous because of ancient Egypt. Some Japanese monks mummified themselves through a ritual consisting on eating tree bark and drinking water from a specific water spring. Little they knew that the water was rich in arsenic, so they slowly poisoned themselves, so they killed all bacteria inside them as well. So no putrefaction was possible and their bodies dried up in meditation position. Devout Buddhists believe they are still alive, reducing their body functions near to zero. This practice is now forbidden in Japan. These mummifications are artificial, but one of the rarest mummification cases is in Guanajuato, Mexico. Their graveyard is so small that a perpetuity quote has to be paid. If the quote is not paid, the body is exhumed and cremated. But some of the bodies are found mummified. The causes are unknown because less than 1% of the bodies are mummified. Saponification may be the rarest one, and since I'm not a chemist, the hardest to explain. All bodies have fat. Some have more fat than others. This fat, if the conditions are adequate, starts a process called hydrolysis. This makes your body fat to transform into soap. It is so rare that it is considered anomalous when it happens to a previously living body. We don't really know reality. We only know our perception of reality. The sky isn't really blue. The gases in our atmosphere scatter the shorter wavelength frequencies of the visible light spectrum, that is, blue, indigo, and violet. Yet, we only see blue. The rest are still there, we just don't see it. There is a lot we don't see. There is a lot we don't hear. There is a lot we cannot perceive. Just imagine what else is out there, or rather, inside your house with you right now, perhaps dangling off the hairs over your forehead as you read this, that you can't see or hear or feel. When we consume psychoactive, hallucinogenic substances, our perception of reality is distorted. The 5 senses are inadequate for describing the experience because we are able to perceive differently from what languages, and by extension, our own minds, have been developed to describe. There is a great, overarching blackness, a mystery of the universe that you cannot know. We are all just walking around in the dark, unaware of everything. Also, a baculum is a penis bone that is absent in humans, but present in other mammals. The blue whale is the largest animal species alive on Earth. They have baculums. Patesti experiment in Romania overseen by the Soviet Union. Probably the worst thing that humans have ever done to other humans. Makes Unit 731 look like daycare. Communist Russia was probably the most evil human organization to ever exist. It was basically an experiment to prove souls don't exist. That any human, no matter how resilient, can be broken or demasked into an animal-like slave. And they proved this by killing the human spirit with 24/7 torture, degradation, brainwashing and humiliation. Besides the obvious brutal violent stuff like eating your own shit, vomit, and forced to desecrate every sacred belief you ever held until you totally broke. And they did this to the most resilient anti-communist student activists. And they all broke. Then they forced them to be the torturers for their fellow comrades. With the threat that if any of the tortured admitted that they were the guard that shown them a shred of mercy or leniency, they would be sent back to the beginning of the program to experience it all again, which most did several times. If these prisoners were given even the slightest chance, they instantly tried to commit suicide. Some even chewed through their wrists to get to their veins, which the communists solved for by knocking out all of their teeth. One of the biggest mistakes the Western world made was not make the crimes of the Soviet Union more known. Everyone should know this happened, that yes, there was an organization of people much worse than even the Nazis. 1. Rogue planets. The black holes. Rogue planets don't have a parental star and start roaming around solar systems around the galaxy that has a sun, and rogue black holes also roam around sucking everything it sees. Worst case scenario, a rogue planet will enter our solar system and cause a collision. 2. We are definitely not going anywhere just by finding a habitable planet. We already messed up ours. Our galaxy is big that it will take years to get across or out of our galaxy to find another one, and no one will care if you keep putting save Earth or save water. Our planet will still be trashed and we all are gonna die. The fact, there are rich people paying upwards of $5,000 per treatment to have blood transfusions with young blood. Younger people have greater levels of somatotropin, a growth hormone that plays a massive role in healing. The transfusion supposedly boosts the body's healing process, reducing and slightly reversing the aging process. These companies pay younger, typically students, for these donations. What's really scary? The younger the blood, the more GH, meaning the greater the efficacy. One can only imagine the levels to which this goes on in the illegal trade. The city of San Francisco banned burials in 1902. You cannot be buried in SF unless you have special permission or a plot already purchased prior to the ban. In 1921, bodies were being moved out of the city. The town of Colma was founded in 1924 specifically as a necropolis to bury excess bodies. The creepiest part, some bodies were exhumed and buried in mass graves, others were transferred to new coffins with incorrect information, and others were left behind in their original resting places. There are literally places in the city where unmarked bodies are buried. Used to commute through Colma from SF, and would always wonder why I was passing by so many cemeteries. I'm not going to go into it because I'm a volunteer firefighter. Spreading this information I'm certain is illegal, but the broad strokes are how easily things can burst into flames and how quickly humans die afterwards, and that the fingernails burn first. But CO2 makes sure you're not awake for any of this, you just die at 15,000 parts per million. Then as far as gases that can kill you, the last is PE gas, which is M** gas, which is fucking on fire on, and it takes 2 parts per million to kill. Don't go near burning fridges. Organic phosphates, which are used in chemical weapons by sarin gas, inhibit the relaxing ability of muscles. Your muscles literally tense up and you can't relax them. This leads to muscle cramps throughout the body, in absolutely all muscles, eyes, legs, arms, tongue, facial muscles, everywhere. Basically, a person dies from suffocation because he cannot exhale. And even if a person survives with prompt medical attention, he will still not be able to restore motor function. 1. Peanut butter and chocolate bars contain roaches. 2. Even trusted apps like bank apps, social media, and food apps will ping your location and stow that in their company databases so they can analyze your behavior. 3. Your employer has the ability to turn on your webcam on company devices without you knowing. 4. Big cities statistically simulate traffic on their roads, and they adjust how long lights are green or red at certain times of day to help the majority of people get where they need to go, i.e. suburbs to city then city to suburbs. 1. There's a phenomenon known as coffin birth, which can occur when a deceased pregnant woman expels the fetus. It's caused by the buildup of gases inside the body. 2. The Dyatlov Pass incident. In 1959, 9 experienced hikers in the Ural Mountains of Russia tore open their tent from the inside and fled into a snowstorm. Most were found dead of hypothermia, some with unexplainable injuries, and one was missing her tongue and eyes. The exact cause of their deaths is still unknown. 3. Scaphism, also known as the boats, was an ancient Persian method of execution. The condemned person was trapped between 2 boats, or hollowed out tree trunks, fed and covered with milk and honey to attract insects. They'd then be left to float on a stagnant pond. Death, when it eventually occurred, was due to a combination of dehydration, starvation, and septic shock. 4. The dancing plague of 1518 was a case of dancing mania that occurred in Strasbourg, Alsace, where people danced to their deaths over a period of about 1 month. The exact cause remains unknown. 5. Aokigahara, also known as the Sea of Trees, is a forest at the base of Mount Fuji in Japan that's infamous for the high number of suicides that occur there. The area is reportedly so dense and quiet that it's easy to get lost, and compasses can malfunction due to the volcanic soil's high iron content. 1. The dancing plague of 1518. In Strasbourg, France, around 400 people started uncontrollably dancing for days, some even dying from exhaustion or heart attacks, in what is now believed to be a mass psychogenic illness. 2. Coffin birth. In rare cases, the buildup of gas inside a deceased pregnant woman's body can lead to the expulsion of a fetus after death, resulting in a phenomenon called coffin birth. 3. Coda delusion, also known as walking corpse syndrome. This rare mental disorder makes individuals believe they are dead, missing organs, or don't exist at all, leading to a disconnect from reality. 4. Aokigahara Forest. Located in Japan, this dense forest is notorious for being a popular site for suicides, resulting in a dark reputation and eerie atmosphere. 5. Unit 731. During World War I, the Imperial Japanese Army conducted horrifying human experiments, including vivisections and biological weapon testing, on thousands of innocent people at Unit 731. Semi-fact, semi-speculation, but BTK, that one killer in Kansas, Park City, Wichita area, lived beside my mom when she was growing up. BTK was a dog catcher, and ended up taking away my mom's childhood dog, Snoopy. My mom described his voice as a very menacing monotone sort of voice. According to my grandma, he had a list of names in his basement. She claimed her family was on this so-called list. No clue if it was to scare the living shit out of my mom and her siblings growing up, but I wouldn't have my doubts considering how utterly fucked up he was. During the Victorian era, a new baby bottle was introduced. The bottles were made of glass and earthenware, and there was a rub tube and a nipple attached. It was hard to clean the bottle due to the design. Due to hard problems of running a household, Isabella Beaton made a book advising helping about this situation. In her book, she advised mothers that they don't have to wash the nipple of the bottle for 2 to 3 weeks, causing bacteria to easily enter the bottles. This caused a lot of infants to die. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Please like and subscribe for more videos like this one.